good day. Welcome to Tironan's Unfriendly Skies, and today we have a new toy. This is the Focke-Wulf TA-183, an interesting aircraft only from the standpoint that it was going to be a replacement for the Swallow and the Volksfighter 163 Salamander. Yeah, okay. This project never got beyond constructing a mock-up. So from World of Warplane standpoint, you can put anything you want into it. And it's an interesting aircraft for a couple of reasons. One of them is it's got good height capability. And the thing that you'll notice when you start looking at the guns on this aircraft, and you'll notice I'm not going into the historical standpoints of this at all because it doesn't really have a history, okay? But I'll digress enough to tell you that it was designed by Kurt Tank. That's why you have the TA in front of it. And a couple of other little things about it. Kurt went to Argentina to avoid backlash from being involved in all the mess that took place after Germany surrendered in 1945. Designed it, didn't turn out so hot, mostly due to changes he made after the fact that couldn't bear up with it. And that's it. That's as far as I'm going to go with it. A lot of little factoids in there, none of which are very relevant and none of which had any real impact on the world of aviation. The main thing was this was going to be the fighter that did it all. One thing that shows up, for instance, here is on the engine. That engine was never produced. It was in the stages of it. The guns on this aircraft are the Mauser 113Cs. Those are the 30 millimeter cannons. And I will tell you, having done a flight with this, and we're just doing a single flight because we're already at 22 minutes, the factoids on it are wrong, and World of Warplanes needs to clarify that or adjust it. It comes with 4 of those cannons, and it shows 800 DPS, but actually having flown the aircraft, no, it's more like 1320 or whatever the standard for 13Cs, Aidens, DEFA, whatever the case is going to be. The same loopy trajectory, the same problems and benefits that you get from the 213Cs or the Aiden cannons. Coming up about 1320 or 1350 would be my guess, just from the sheer effects on things that I saw. A couple of things about the aircraft as it pertains to the game. It's got good altitude, 183. I'm sorry, 183. The 183 has the altitude capacity optimum altitude of 8202. That's feet divided by 3, and that gets you meters. Excuse me, frog in the throat there. Okay, so that's lovely as far as it sits, but not very fast. As I've got it outfitted here, and I'll be bringing that up here in a minute. The aircraft as it sits is 311 miles an hour cruise speed. Now, are there slower aircraft out there? Yeah. The KI 163 isn't even at the top tier, is not that fast. When you look at the J7W2, 3 I should say, not that fast. And it's not a lot slower, but when you get this thing, and I've got the national project thing on here. Now, I have not taken these beyond 200 because right now I'm not sure that I'm going to specialize it. But looking at this thing on paper, I just thought, what is this going to do that you can't do in a 1092? And not only can you do it in a 1092, you can do it better. And the answer is in the guns. Okay, that is capable of ripping down bombers and fighters. It is actually a very good competitor to the Hunter. And that should tell you something, right? I mean, it can flat go after a Hunter and win. Now, the Hunter's not that fast, but it's a very similar aircraft. And that's something I didn't expect. So this is actually a redo because I was kind of shocked with just how much you could get done with this aircraft, that the paper stats don't really seem to cover very well. Now, if you're going to be dogfighting with Yak 30s or LA 15 or the Sabre, yeah, you're probably going to lose that. And you'll see that in the upcoming flight. But it's kind of a surprising aircraft. Now, here what I'm showing is what you can do with the aircraft a little bit. If you wanted to get more speed out of it, you can go with the polished skin. You drop from the 12.2 that I currently have it at. Or you can put in the lightweight engine and drop this down. By the time you get it up there, you'd be talking 11.7, somewhere in that frame. But configuration-wise, this is not the world's most... I don't know how to put it. It's not a very flexible aircraft. No matter how much power you put into it, you can go up to 338. If you go speed-wise, you can get it down to, maybe you can get it to, when you go to ultimate on speed range, you can get it up to 342, 345, maybe even 350. That might be a way to go. If you go with the polished skin and lightweight frame, you get it down to sub 12 second. I'm going to guess somewhere like 11.8, 11.7. So you can't ever get it very fast. You can't ever get it very turny. And so that kind of makes me, what do you really want to do? Just slap a sight on and forget about it? That part's irritating. You do have to deal with the 213Cs. The same with the Aiden cannon. And eventually they'll come up with a French line because they should. The Duotines and the VG series of fighters were very interesting. They had bombers and stuff on the French side that really need to be explored. But I found this aircraft a lot more useful than I thought it was going to be. As long as there are Hunters and bombers and GA, this thing is going to be fun. It has a role, which I severely doubted it was going to have. You may have noticed I have not gone up this line since the 152, TA-152 to be exact. And I ended up being rather more pleased with it than I thought I was going to be. I had an even bet with myself that I'd give us a month and I'd be getting rid of the aircraft. And everything can be said about this can be said more for its successor. So I want to give this a limited recommendation. I mean, don't expect the world from it, but it's a heck of a lot more usable than you would think. If you like the Hunter, you're going to like this aircraft. Again, the Hunter is a more interesting aircraft in the fact that it's more versatile. But what you're giving up for the lack of ordnance in the Hunter, you're actually gaining here in altitude capability, which means all those bombers, they have no safety zone from you. If you find a heavy fighter coming at you, you have as much firepower as they do, because I do not believe that 800 DPS for a second. you can flat lay it out on somebody. The so if you're dealing with the 262 or the 228 or any of the rest of them, I will tell you that you will see in this game, the coming up, that the fighters were fighter was doing just fine, no problem whatsoever. It can deal with any of them. You just have to deal with the fact that you can outturn heavy fighters. You're not going to outturn the standard fighter. You are certainly not going to outturn the light fighters. That's just one of the limitations. However, if you get them in your gun sight, they're gone. Okay, very similar to a hunter in a lot of respects to me, and far more enjoyable than I really thought it was going to be. Now, a note on production, because people have asked me, and I get emails. I'm done with the daily production. That should be no surprise. What I told myself after beating myself bloody is the World of Warplanes does not have enough ongoing content for me to cover it on a daily basis. And so what I decided to do on this is that I'll produce videos when I find something of interest, when I have a new plane to show you, a new tactic to show you, or the occasional commentary. And so for upcoming videos, one of the things I want to do is just put up a series of suggestions for World of Warplanes. Now, I don't know that they'll ever listen to it, but I'll put it up and let you guys think your own comments on it. But things I would like to see done to rationalize the line. We already have a case of power creep. And one of my things that just really eats my lunch is the current status of the Sabre, for instance. It's not that great an aircraft because of power creep. And the answer is kind of easy to me. I would replace it with a Fury 4. The FJ4 is a very interesting aircraft and would solve most of the problems that you see with the aircraft. So those are some of the lines that I'm thinking about. Let me know what you think, and we're going to move right into the flight section of this, and then your comments are always welcome and preferred and suggested. All right, so we're up in our standard high altitude map here. And we have a specialized LA-15, and it actually gives me, and we'll give you a heads up. We do lose this contest, but I thought the game was very representative of what this aircraft can do. It is not specialized, of course. You can get better performance out of it. We discussed that at some length before, so I'm not going to beat it to death. All right, so we're coming up on our air defense fighters here. And I just spent quite a bit of time yesterday flying the Hunters, so I am pretty well dialed in on the guns once I realized what I was dealing with here. I thought they just put 4 of the 213/20s in. One of my favorite guns in the game. But we have the 1300 plus DPS cannons here, and it's pretty interesting. Now, I have a bot in this game flying a Javelin who's a real pain in the tooth.
The command center, trying to contact the front headquarters. Enemy bombers inbound.
They just saw me take down a bomber, air defense fighter, no problem whatsoever. And here is the limitation. You notice I just gave up on the pursuit of that bomber because I couldn't catch up to him. All right, so I'm not a big proponent of going after airfields, but we're testing out the aircraft here. And yes, that's a hunter I'm going against. So I'm up tiered. And I'm not feeling particularly outclassed. I know because I dueled that bot all throughout this game. Okay, so I'm getting myself out of the area and I'll come back here. I am very, very low on hit points at this point. Mostly due to tail turrets. I much prefer catching the bombers when they're coming in than in chasing them, which is something I quickly learned in this you're not going to enjoy very much. Now, this hunter is coming in on me fresh. Part of this is they're bots, and we all know the story with bots. They're not as good a pilot as you and I are. So don't overread this, but I found it very interesting that, and there's your LA-15 who cut inside me and killed me. All right, so that goes very much to what I was talking about and how I feel that this plane slots into the game. It is not something you're going to go after turn and burns with. An LA-15 is a mid-altitude turn and burn. Nice aircraft, too. I'm hoping to get that specialized so I can really show it off and do what it need to do, but I've been involved with some other things. I wanted to show you guys the Hunter, the TA-183, and we have some other choices to make. I can either go with the 163/3, or I can go with the Javelin. And both of those are available. I could also resurrect the Corsair F7U. That is not of very much interest to me, but if you guys wanted me to, I'm going to leave that up to you. I do make these videos for you, not for me. So if you are really burning, and I'll put the choice up to you. My own preference is to go for the Javelin, but if you guys really want to see the 163-3 or the Corsair, I will get those. I have the silver to do that. Been working very, very hard to get enough silver to start bringing some of these tier 10s out to you. So do appreciate the effort, and if you want to support the channel on Patreon, please do. I can use all the support I can get. This stuff ain't cheap. Alright, so this thing is fairly good at taking out bombers. It's maneuverable enough to do a lot of things. And I wouldn't have thought it in 12 seconds, but if you prove to the hunter, it's a lot more useful than you'd think it'd be. Now, when I ran across these and I was flying a 1092, I will tell you that I don't care who was in it. I surely was not worried about it in the least, because they're just too easy to. You have 2 seconds better turn time than you do with one of these, almost exactly. And when you get this thing all specced out, you probably be closer to a 1.5 than 2, but still, you're not going to have any particular problem outmaneuvering a Huckabee with a 1092.
Now, you're on your own. Way to go. Victory is close.
Now you notice I'm having no problem sticking with this aircraft whatsoever. 215s aren't going to present anything of a major challenge to you either. And I love how they give me a partial on that instead of the victory when I did 90% of the damage. All right, World of Warplanes. Okay, a couple of bombers up here. And that wraps it up. Okay. Still didn't do bad here, and I thought this was an excellent video just showing the capabilities of the aircraft. If all I show you is victories, you know. Especially when I'm doing an aircraft evaluation, sometimes the defeats are more instructive than the victories. And so I wanted to make sure that we got some good video on this, and we have. So I hope you guys like this. All right. Ten kills, some assists. First time flying it, really pretty pleased. Okay, so to wrap this up, this is an aircraft that I wasn't sure had that great a role, and I was wrong. Okay, I am glad that I got the aircraft. Is it a world beater? No. Yeah. But is it a good aircraft? Yeah. It has its role. It really does have its role. And I'm very pleased that I got it, which is saying something. I wasn't that thrilled about getting the Hunter, and I wasn't that thrilled about getting this aircraft. That's why they're so late in the production schedule. But, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that the 152 has bit the dust. And if you want, I've got a lot of video on it, so don't cry to me about not making them. Just go back in the history of the channel, and you can find all the TA-152 video you want. Okay, folks, that's getting pretty close to wrapping this one up here. I want to take a minute to thank every one of you. I hope you appreciate the new video formats that I'm doing. I've made investment in the sound and in the game to bring it to you. Appreciate you. Bye.